I was thinking of some good sponsor candidates for you, but I don't think now's a good time to reveal them.
Yeah, I was thinking like Geico.
Yeah, but like GUY, Geico, a company for guys.
This podcast, my first podcast ever, is brought to you by Exxon Mobil.
Mhm. Yeah, well, they need to get involved if they want to restore their brand. They got to they got to rethink the whole thing.
Do you ever drive?
Yeah, maybe you're driving right now. Hey, if you like driving so much, how about this next podcast will drive you insane? Exxon Mobil.
Well, hey
Is
guys, how you
that?
doing?
Good. Good.
We had to restart. We had some really great banter going on before.
Yeah,
Uh,
if these walls could talk, I wish we could. It's hard to replay it after that. Now I feel a little more. I feel like I'm performing now.
Well, the good news is I have no idea what I'm doing. And all of this is editable.
are you gonna dub us? Overdub anything that you don't like or anything that doesn't adhere to the script?
Yeah, we get into like a
It
huge
just get dubbed.
argument that it just gets cut out. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm trying to get some at bats here, you know?
Who's your editor?
You're looking at him. Same guy
Yeah.
that bought the Kimchi 3000. It's also going to spend all night on GarageBand.
You're
That's a
Jamie.
one-stop shop.
You're
Yeah, it's-
Jamie and Joe.
Yeah. Bill, Maddie's in Sherwood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, kicking back.
It doesn't look as rural as what I was expecting.
No, Sherwood got a glow up, huge glow up. We took the cabin down to the studs about maybe 15 years ago, and we never looked back.
I'm looking at a cabin right now.
It's a cottage. Cabin is a strong word. Cabin's quite a strong word.
Yeah, I think
Um,
Walden would look askance at that cottage.
he's rolling over in his grave somewhere.
Yeah.
If he were only here to see this.
I think you should write the modern Walden. You talk about like just like a degraded Wi-Fi signal.
Right. How far I have to go to buy the frozen pizzas for the freezer.
Yeah, yeah, and how it builds character to not have free access or something.
Oh yeah, I came back here to get one with nature again. So I'll be here for a few hours and then gotta get back to the big city.
Hmm. You don't want you going insane or anything. You'll be like, if
It's too late for that, I'm afraid.
9:30, you'll start turning into the Unabomber.
I actually did hard time down here during COVID, like 10 days in a row. And it was like, in Shawshank Redemption, when he has to do time in the box, and the warden
Yeah.
comes in and says, another month in the box. That was like, I was the warden. I was also Andy Dufresne, if that makes any sense. I
Wow.
was both. Yeah.
Jamie
I was
and
going through a weird time, But this isn't about me. Isn't this about cryptocurrency or,
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
borderless currency? Yeah.
But now I'm starting to think we should just kind of just do this like every couple of weeks. This is kind of nice.
yeah, yeah. Tell me about who was it? Tsunami in Nagasaki? What was his name? Yeah, what did he do again? Made some kind of a web app or something?
Yeah, it's a web app.
Pets.com?
All right, we can get rolling. Thank you guys for doing this with me. As you guys know, over the last few years. I've really gone from kind of a Bitcoin hobbyist to a real freak show about it. And as I've gone deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, I've become more and more frustrated with kind of the media coverage of it, which is just kind of crazy from my perspective. There is, so much coverage of the negatives, and there's a lot of bad things that happen with crypto. Whether it's just like gambling culture or the very famous, frauds, scams, or even some of the political implications of this stuff. But there's also a lot of great stuff too, and I wanted to start putting some of those ideas out there. There's a lot of great crypto podcasts out there, but I kind of find that in general, the ones that are kind of more basic and sort of for everyone tend to focus mostly on Bitcoin. The one with the Nagasaki guy, and then the ones that are more broad in other things involved with crypto, they tend to be very complex and probably too in the weeds for most people. And so while I do believe that Bitcoin is the main thing to focus on, I also think there's other really interesting stuff on there, or stuff out there. So I wanted to, in an ideal world, create something that's kind of a nice middle ground between those two, and find some experts that'll come on and talk to me about these things, and explain them. But the question was, kind of where do you start with all this? And decided to start at the beginning with the story of Satoshi Nakamoto. And I have some ideas about maybe getting some cryptocurrency Satoshi researchers on the podcast. I wanted to create an episode that's just kind of like a very simple overview and just TLDR of what is Bitcoin, where did it come from, who is this Tsunami Nagasaki guy, and why did he do this, and what makes Bitcoin unique, interesting, and different from the millions, literally, of cryptocurrencies that are out there that you read about every day. I mean, the president of the United States just launched a coin. The Hawk Tua girl launched a coin. So what is the TLDR and what's kind of going on here? And I wrote all of that out basically in like a blog post format, and decided to just do a first episode of just reading it and reading all of that out. But while I think that's a good idea, it did sound maybe a little bit boring, or maybe a little bit dull, and I wanted to maybe add a little spice to it. So I got my buddies Bill Carroll and Marty Collins here. So thank you guys very much for coming on the first episode ever of the Ryan Donnelly podcast.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be on the debut podcast and sharing the airwaves with Maddie, who's a much more zealous, much more experienced in the crypto space than I am. He'll tell me all about it. Me, I'm just a casual observer, but I'm really excited to be here in the presence of greatness.
Yeah, likewise, I'd like to echo what Bill said. I'm probably even more honored to be here, given that I'm probably the ultimate novice when it comes to cryptocurrency. And really, I was just hoping to be a fly on the wall and watch and listen to two of our great cryptocurrency minds duke it out for cryptocurrency dominance on this first debut podcast. So thanks for having me.
No problem. The pleasure is all mine, and really looking forward to both of your deep expertise as you dive into this and you give the audience, the knowledge that they're looking for. And we're gonna jump into all the fun stuff, but just quickly from the top here, we do have to take care of a little bit of business. My dog Charlie, his treats, his gourmet treats that he likes from Zoomies aren't gonna pay for himself. Aren't gonna pay for themselves, so we got to take care of a little business here at the top. And I just got to ask you guys, do you like getting sun? It's been brutally cold here in January in New York City. And as soon as the weather turns, I know I'll be getting out and about. But when I do so, I recognize that it's important, very important to protect myself. So you need to be using sunscreen, but you don't just want to use any sunscreen. You want to use a product that is devoid of all the harmful chemicals that can be found in most major store-bought brands. That's why you want Basque Sun Care, the feel-good sunscreen. And if I could, I'd like to recommend their SPF 40 Daily Invisible Gel, the perfect sunscreen from the boardroom to the beach, as seen on the Today Show and Vogue's top-rated sunscreen for feel and finish. The Daily Invisible Gel is velvety smooth with an effortless, completely weightless, and non-oily dry down. It's completely invisible, works effortlessly with any skin tone and even facial hair. It's a great product, and I've confirmed with Basque that while it's not on shelves yet, there is also a mineral product in the pipeline coming soon. So if you'd like to cut down on the chemicals even more, you'll soon be able to do that. They do not accept Bitcoin as payment, but I'll be trying to work on that, of course, as our partnership grows. So please visit basquesuncare.com and enter the promo code Doge at checkout for 15% off all products store wide. That's Doge at checkout. Thank you very much.
Great. I'm on the, I don't know if you, Matt, I don't know if you're looking at basquesuncare.com right now, but I am. And this looks like one hell of a product.
Um, well, I can't say that I am, because I never use protection, but I certainly see the value in it for someone like Ryan.
You raw dog the sun?
No, I use sunscreen, copper tone,
Oh,
typically. Yeah.
yeah. I'm familiar with that brand. Bit dated, but
That's awful. Full of chemicals.
No, I'm a Basque enthusiast.
it's because Maddie, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but Maddie told me offline it's because Copper Tone accepts Bitcoin.
All right, well, we do have to work on that. But all right, again, thank you guys so much for doing this with me. And with that, we'll just dive in. All right.
Let's do it.
Okay. Friday, October 31st, 2008, Halloween night. The global economy is in the throes of the Great Recession, the most severe worldwide financial crisis since the Great Depression, due to a very complicated story about leverage. The S&P 500 is down 40% year over year. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have been acquired by the US government. Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns have collapsed. Merrill Lynch has been acquired, and AIG has been bailed out by the US government. Vibes are not high, to say the least. The Philadelphia Phillies have just won the World Series. The Tennessee Titans have the best record in the NFL at 7-0, led by quarterback Kerry Collins. The song Whatever You Like by T.I. is the number one song on the charts.
That's a great
And
song.
great song, banger. And young versions of ourselves are at a Halloween party, probably in Fern's basement. I think I'm dressed as Heath Ledger's Joker. And also on October 31st, 2008, unbeknownst to almost everyone on Earth, in an extremely obscure corner of the internet, on an extremely nerdy but very badass internet forum, where people share ideas about creating freedom on the internet. A pseudonymous person named Satoshi Nakamoto is publishing a white paper or scientific paper titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. The paper describes a complicated technological system that, most importantly, in theory, would have no center. Individual users would run software on their computers that validate financial transactions in this new system, meaning that no central issuer, central bank, government, company, or entity of any kind would be needed to oversee or be in charge of this new theoretical version of digital cash. The units in the system are called bitcoins, and they are released to participants as transactions are validated in decreasing fashion until they run out, leaving us with a cap of 21 million bitcoins at the end of the day. While this idea would have sounded insane to us if we talked about it that night over a warm, natty light hidden in Fern's electrical closet, it was par for the course for the internet forum where this Satoshi person posted it. People on that forum actually talked about ideas like this all of the time. And this is one of the things to learn about Bitcoin that I think makes it a lot easier to understand in the beginning, which is that Bitcoin did not come out of nowhere. Bitcoin was the culmination of decades of work of people who saw the internet from the beginning as a tool that humans could use for freedom, not just something that we could build commerce and messaging and social media and watch porn on. These people loved the fact that because the internet was an open communications network, anyone in the world could access it and nobody could stop them, which meant that if you could build tools on top of the internet that allowed for things like freedom of speech, privacy, or the freedom to move money without any intervention, you could imagine a world where the internet created drastically more individual freedom and sovereignty for everyone, and dramatically altered the balance of power between the state or governments and individuals, which was a particularly inspiring vision to people building on the early internet when considering a world that was full of authoritarian governments. One person from this group, named Hal Finney, a Southern California-based computer programmer, has a quote from 1992 that sums up sort of this philosophy and the goals of these people pretty clearly. When thinking about how this new thing called the internet was going to change the world, he wrote, quote, "Here we are faced with the problems of loss of privacy, creeping computerization, massive databases, and more centralization. Digital cash offers a completely different direction to go in. The computer can be used as a tool to liberate and protect people rather than to control them." Hal and this group of internet freedom fighters, known as the cypherpunks, were very well known in the internet community in the 1990s and built many of the things that we use today, such as PGP, or private emailing, Tor, which is a privacy tool that allows you to privately route your internet traffic, WikiLeaks. These people were behind the WikiLeaks movement, and just in general, many of the open protocols that the internet is built on. Creating a digital cash or a new version of internet money was sort of the theoretical holy grail that could tie all of these things together. However, by 2008, and after many failed attempts at something like this, it's safe to say that many of them felt like they were losing and had somewhat turned into old curmudgeon-y guys who were partly disillusioned at what the internet had actually become. Their freedom dream had turned into a handful of companies that owned the internet, owned everyone's data, and actually looked like they could be leading us into a way more dystopian future than the pre-internet era could have ever produced. So much of our lives runs through Google, Amazon, Facebook, X, etc. This is basically the exact opposite of what they wanted. They wanted open source projects that decentralized power instead of closed source for maximum profit projects that looked like they could lead us into the greatest centralization of power that humanity had ever seen. So when Satoshi publishes this paper, he's really not actually met with any fanfare. He actually receives a ton of pushback, and people have gone back and collected these emails in hindsight, and you can read them today, and they are pretty hilarious. I thought me being bullish on Anthony Richardson this year was a bad call. Imagine telling Satoshi Nakamoto that his idea is worthless before he creates what is today valued at a $2 trillion asset. So you may be wondering at this point why digital cash had been so hard to create in the past and what it was that Satoshi actually solved. The answer to this is basically a problem with what money is. Money is a concept that humans created to prevent us from having to barter with each other. If you're in a small village in prehistoric times and you need some food, it might be easy enough to go to your neighbor and trade them some firewood for the food. But as societies grow and continue to scale, money is a critical invention that allows us to exchange value with each other. Humans have used many different things as money throughout history, from seashells to scarce commodities like gold and silver, and to paper money. And one of the ways to look at kind of a through line of history is humanity's search for better and better forms of money. If you ask a economics professor for a hard definition, they'll tell you that money is three things. It is one, a medium of exchange, so it's something that you can transfer to people. Two, a unit of account, so something that you can denominate things in. So this burger costs $10. And three, it is a store of value. So the store of value part refers to the fact that sometimes you get money and you don't have an immediate need. You want to save the money for something in the future. This makes the scarcity of that form of money very important, because if you save in a money that isn't scarce, it'll lose its value in the future. All these things are why gold eventually sort of won as the dominant money of humans for thousands of years. It was the best combination of all of these three properties, particularly on the store of value side of things. Gold is scarce and durable, which made for a good place for humans to store their societal wealth into the future. Another important thing about money is that we keep a record of it. Whether it's who has what seashells, who has what gold, or who has what dollars, some entity or process has been needed to keep records of money and make sure that no one is spending the same money twice or corrupting the money system in some way. With earlier attempts at creating a new form of money on the internet by those cypherpunk people, it was really hard to figure out how to do this without creating some sort of company. With Bitcoin, there is no company. So to the question of who keeps a record of the money and who ensures the sort of purity and sanctity of the system, Bitcoin has the craziest answer ever, which somehow works, which is that everyone keeps a record of the ledger of who has what money. That ledger is known as the blockchain, and it is run by individuals distributed all over the world. Saturday, January 3rd, 2009. Single Ladies, Put a Ring on It by Beyonce is at the top of the charts. Israel invades Gaza, and the Bitcoin software is officially released to the world as something that anyone can download. Very interestingly, in the first version of the software, Satoshi, the person who creates it, includes a link, sort of like an Easter egg, to a London Times article with the headline "Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks." This is seemingly a reference to the energy and the spirit behind this project. Today, we obviously live in a world of government money that is backed by faith in that government. This type of money or these type of currencies are known colloquially as fiat currencies. And people like the cypherpunks and clearly Satoshi Nakamoto viewed government currencies that could be created out of nothing as something that gave governments way too much power. In February of 2009, so just after Bitcoin launches, Satoshi writes, quote, "The root problem with conventional currency is all the trust that's required to make it work. The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of fiat currencies is full of breaches of that trust." So by referencing the Great Recession, which just happened, and involved the printing of massive quantities of new government money, Satoshi seems to say that we've all just witnessed a large-scale breach of the trust in our system of money, and that Bitcoin is a potential solution. 7 days later, Hal Finney becomes the second known person to run the Bitcoin software and receives the first Bitcoin transaction when Satoshi sends him 10 Bitcoins worth literally nothing at the time, but a cool $1 million today. And really, for the next year, nothing that important happens with Bitcoin. Barack Obama is sworn in as the 44th U.S. president. The Steelers win the Super Bowl on an incredible catch from Santonio Holmes. Captain Sully lands that plane in the Hudson. And we have the swine flu, which I think Maddie actually contracts. Sorry to bring that up. But by November of 2009, Bitcoin has only, so, we're almost a year in. Bitcoin's only processed 200 transactions. It has no monetary value. The ball gets rolling a little bit when Satoshi creates a Bitcoin internet forum. And drip by drip, users start to come in, sharing ideas, fixing bugs in the code, etc. It begins to slowly acquire a little bit of monetary value as people on the forum start trading each other. And there start to be some transactions that are now very famous in hindsight, such as in May 2010, when someone named Laszlo Heinez paid 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 Papa John's pizzas. 10,000 Bitcoins today are currently just over $1 billion. It's really a few months later in the summer of 2010 that things start to finally take off. This happens because Bitcoin starts getting mentioned in the press, notably in a tech publication called Slashdot, and users and developers start to pour in. In August of 2010, Bitcoin reaches the, at the time, enormous price of 10 cents. And then in the fall of 2010, some very interesting things start happening that I think explain another very critical aspect of Bitcoin that makes it unique, which is that not only is it technologically decentralized, but politically decentralized as well. By that fall, some very competent computer scientists start to get involved, and they begin getting more and more involved in making changes and asking questions about this person, Satoshi's leadership and role in this quote-unquote decentralized project. At this point, so we're almost 2 years in, pretty much all updates to Bitcoin are still passing through Satoshi. And if this is to be an open source, leaderless new form of internet money, how can it be appropriate to have this sort of gatekeeper? It was a difficult question because Bitcoin was young and still vulnerable to attacks. So you'd like to have someone watching over it, but you could begin to see how the project was going to be difficult to handle politically. People were questioning things like how much fees people should pay for transactions, the size of transactions, even the 21 million supply cap. One exchange you can read from the forum of those days, I think, sums this up pretty well, where one user says, "How on earth can you be comfortable with some random dude picking the amount of currency in circulation?" Another user says, "Who should pick the number then?" A third says, "I trust Satoshi's cap a lot more than I do Ben Bernanke's, the chairman of the Federal Reserve." And then another user replies, "A bunch of random dudes is better than one random dude." And then a user named Art4s replies to this and says, "The only important part is that it's fixed, enforced by all peers, and known to everyone in advance." Around here, so about 2 years into Bitcoin's creation, is where I think a really critical aspect of Bitcoin's culture begins to take shape. And that is the idea that the users of the system control Bitcoin, not any one person or group of people, including Satoshi himself. The idea begins to circulate that if a majority of nodes or people running the software disagree with the decisions developers, including Satoshi, may be making, they can simply refuse to upgrade to the latest changes and effectively carry on without them. The version of Bitcoin with the most users and most transactions is the quote unquote real Bitcoin. And therefore, an upgrade to the Bitcoin software could be viewed as simply a proposed change, not a mandate that the user had to agree to by downloading it. It's this culture built on the idea that the users control Bitcoin, which in my opinion is very similar to actually the idea of American democracy, where the country belongs to the people. It's this idea that really is the secret to Bitcoin and the backbone that has allowed it to survive so much volatility, so many attacks, so many ups and downs over 16 plus years. It's been stress tested before, it'll be stress tested again, and so far seems to be holding up pretty well. In December of 2010, Bitcoin really began to take off as the idea began to spread that it could be used as a payment on the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks that I mentioned earlier. At the time, WikiLeaks was publishing government secrets, secrets of the US government and others, and PayPal had just been shut down as something you could use to send them donations. So PayPal just made the decision to cut off the ability to donate to WikiLeaks. In response to this, people started using Bitcoin, which can't be shut down, and the media started reporting on it. Satoshi actually seemed to be not necessarily too excited about this development and wrote in response, quote, it would have been nice to get this attention in any other context. WikiLeaks has kicked the hornet's nest and the swarm is headed towards us." Not everyone agreed, as user Diablo D3 wrote, "If I want to donate to WikiLeaks using BTC, everyone else can blank my blank." December 13th, 2010, Satoshi disappears. One day after this WikiLeaks post, Satoshi releases one final update to Bitcoin software and basically signs off forever. He clearly did this intentionally, as he removed his name from Bitcoin's copyright statements and his contact information from bitcoin.org, replacing it with the contact information of other developers. And 14 years later, we really don't know that much else. We know he emailed with a developer named Gavin Andreessen, giving him the green light to conduct, quote, more active project management. We know that they emailed back and forth for about 5 months. We know that, hilariously, Andreessen went to visit CIA headquarters in April of 2011 to attend an emerging technologies conference, and that when he told Satoshi this, Satoshi never emailed him again. But we really don't know anything else. We don't know if Satoshi is alive, if he has access to any Bitcoin, nothing. And that story is truly unbelievable in the most literal sense of the word. And as time goes on and Bitcoin becomes more successful, the story is going to become more and more unbelievable and is one of the greatest mysteries of all time. It took Bitcoin users a while to realize that Satoshi was actually gone. At first, they seemed to think he was taking a step back and maybe would return at any moment. Maybe in the middle of some controversy, he would share his opinion. And since people had spent the last year sort of questioning his leadership, they weren't that upset, it seemed, when it started to settle in that he was really gone. Some of them were excited and felt empowered to take on more responsibility in pushing Bitcoin forward. It's only in the years since that Satoshi has become this mythical character and that people have come to view his walking away as this George Washington-esque move to prevent Bitcoin from ever sort of having a king. And that's really what it was. Because in the years since, different developers or people involved, media personalities, investors, you can think of people like Michael Saylor today, they may for a time become sort of the de facto face of Bitcoin, but the idea that no one owns or controls Bitcoin is so deeply embedded into the culture that if any of those characters sort of step a toe out of line with the ideology of the project, they're immediately attacked by all of these Bitcoin diehards. And I really think that helps explain what kind of makes Bitcoin unique and why replacing it, which is a topic that comes up often, if they did this once, why can't people do it again, is sort of a bit of a paradox. Bitcoin is, of course, open source code, and you can copy the software, and you can call it anything you want, like things you might see today, like Hawk Tuah coin or Fart coin, one of my favorites, or Trump coin that the president just launched. Besides the fact that those are hilarious and clearly not serious things, it's a totally fair question to wonder, what actually is the difference between Trump coin and Bitcoin, if they literally have the same code and or the same features, which in theory they could. And the answer really comes down to trust. Bitcoin is the only system where the users provably over time are really fully in control in a way that's kind of amazing. Someone might have a great idea for a new use of blockchain technology, but if they start a new blockchain with a new coin attached to it, they're obviously fully in control of this new system. And the question is, why would people ever trust them when Bitcoin already exists? Gold was selected by humans because it met all of these properties of money that we wanted, but also as this naturally occurring element that was just a thing around us. It was also seen as a form of money that was fair. Because Bitcoin exists and is as close to as leaderless as a system could be, it doesn't make sense for people to trust Trump coin over Bitcoin as a long-term store of value, because with Trump coin, there's a small team that just created it that could change the rules overnight at a moment's notice, just like a government could with their currency. And it's really the sort of insane series of events that we just kind of went through that are almost like the Big Bang or something of this new system, that where Bitcoin was launched at no value with no insider allocations or initial investment, where it was worked on for multiple years with little to no movement. And then the founder just completely disappears, seemingly never really gaining anything for this invention other than worldwide fame for this pseudonym that isn't even his real name. And it's that story that earned people's trust and inspired them from sort of the selfless nature that people see from it, and has grown Bitcoin from zero to a $2 trillion asset that it is today, and possibly the next global reserve currency. And that, my friends, is the story.
It almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, it does. It really is an unbelievable story. And obviously, the question is, who is Satoshi? It's an extremely interesting question, and it no answer to the question really makes any sense. A lot of people think that, perhaps it's a government, maybe it's the US government, but it's just hard to imagine if it's some sort of large group, how they could keep that a secret for this long. It's also equally hard to imagine that it is one person that walks away. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it somehow works. And it's just kind of this crazy, crazy thing.
Uh, do you mind if I ask if there's any coincidences in terms of the timing of Mr. Satoshi walking away and the death of Hal Finney?
Great question.
Isn't everyone wondering that? Am I the only one wondering that?
Great
You
question.
know?
Uh, yeah, great question. I will say that there sort of is this movement within Bitcoin to try to really not figure out who Satoshi is. Sort of the idea is that this person did this thing pseudonymously and meant for it to be that way, and that should be a decision that's respected. At the same time, it's just unbelievably interesting, and everybody's curious. Obviously, people have been trying to figure out who Satoshi is for 16 years. You can Google search who is Satoshi, and you'll see sort of, I'd say, like the top five major candidates. HBO just released a documentary this past fall that people can check out that is called Money Electric, I believe. It's very good up until the very end. The guy that made it did a really, really great job basically summing up everything I just said, and the history of it and all of that. But then I think to promote his documentary, he decided to kind of take a firm stance on who Satoshi is. And he claims that it's this person, Peter Todd, where there's very, very good evidence that it's not him. And that was kind of a bummer. I feel like he did that a little bit for publicity, but the rest of the documentary is very good. But Hal Finney is probably the number one candidate in people's mind for who Satoshi is. He checks all of the boxes. He was in the computer programming scene in Southern California. He knew all of these people. He knew the cypherpunks. He knew what they were working on. That quote I read in the very beginning was from 1992, where he's talking about digital cash. So he's been thinking about these ideas for decades. And he personally is my kind of favorite character in Bitcoin. He's just this incredibly, obviously very smart, but really optimistic person, which I think is why he was the first person to give Bitcoin a chance, to respond to Satoshi's post on the forum and say, "Hey, this looks interesting. Like, I'll download this. I'll work on this," because he hadn't given up, even after so many years of trying to work on digital cash and failing at it. And then he receives the first Bitcoin transaction, so that's a little fishy. And then, yes, as you mentioned, he dies of ALS in 2013. And the Satoshi story is obviously unbelievable. One thing that would help make it make sense is if he's dead. Um, and so he's a very, very prime candidate. There are some people that are know more about a lot more about this than me that have done like deep forensic evidence, and I want to say there is an occasion where there's like a Hal Finney was also a prolific marathon runner, and I think there's a picture of him running at like the same time that Satoshi posted something or emailed something. And so people kind of look at that as evidence that it's not him. Another possibility is that it's a group, like maybe it's a group of three or four of these cypherpunk people. Another big, if you just Google, who is Satoshi, another name that you'll see is Nick Szabo. Um, so there's Nick Szabo, there's Hal Finney, there's someone named Adam Back. They were all kind of, around the hoop, so to speak. And it's possible that maybe they collaborated on this. They would all sort of log in at different times and post things. But that to me is just also kind of difficult to believe that, people could keep a secret like this because it's just so insane. Uh, so, yeah, that was a really long answer, but that's what I have to say about Hal Finney.
So you think it is Hal Finney?
I kind of want it to be Hal Finney because I like Hal Finney, but I don't know. The answer is I don't know. Nobody knows. And like, I'm not even sure. Like, does the US government know? I'd like to think that like they're so powerful and they have such surveillance capabilities. Like, how can a person on the internet in the internet age be completely get away with it and vanish? It's hard to imagine, but based on everything I've learned, I really truly think that nobody knows except maybe a couple people that are alive, and I think they've done a very good job of hiding it.
You know, you said that that was the obvious question. I don't know. I mean, I, it doesn't really matter, of course, right? And like just because I can still enjoy a hamburger at McDonald's, even though I never shook Ray Kroc's hand, and just because I never met Colonel Sanders doesn't mean that KFC's chicken tastes any less good. It's more about the product itself, right?
100%. So that's actually a extremely important and good point. So thank you for saying that. Because this is something that, yeah, I see Will in the Zoom chat has put up the clap hands emoji for your, I guess, in response to your comment. Um, no, this is something that actually trips so many people up, though, and just kind of seems sketchy. I remember talking to my brother about Bitcoin years ago, and I'm trying to, sell him on it and everything. And he's asking questions, and then he eventually just goes, but like, who started this? And I go, well, nobody knows. And he goes, all right, well, I'm out, like I'm not like that's weird. And it does trip people up for a long time, understandably so. But one kind of process of learning about it is actually coming to understand that it truly doesn't matter, because the Bitcoin is what it is. And like as a person that loves Bitcoin, I want it to stay a mystery just because it's such an incredible thing, an incredible story. But like the reality of what that looks like is, let's say Satoshi comes back tomorrow and he's like a bad person. He's like a malicious actor, or maybe he is, one of these people that we're talking about, but he's just, he's really down on his luck, the last couple of years, like his wife left him or something. And he's like, you know what, screw this. Like, I'm just gonna crush this whole thing. it's possible. Nobody really knows, but in terms of generating the first bitcoins, it's very likely that the Satoshi a person or group or whatever mined or received an enormous amount of bitcoins in the very beginning. The theoretical number based on people who have studied this is around 1 million coins that belong to Satoshi. And so if in theory that's true, and if in theory that person sort of came back, they could be unbelievably wealthy, or they could try to sort of attack Bitcoin, I guess, by selling all of those coins into the marketplace. That would cause the price to go down by like, 90% or whatever that would be. But it wouldn't change anything about what the software is that people have now built on for 15 years. And so it would still work. It would just kind of be a bummer in the whole story. But yeah, it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, you don't like the pseudonym really helps with the sex appeal because this Peter Todd guy, you know, ain't no way I'm spending 100 grand to buy there's not even a coin involved, you know? Spend 100 grand from some program made by Peter Todd. There's no way. I feel much better knowing it's going to an Asian fella, you know. I just think they take their work a lot more seriously, is all. But
Yeah.
that's just what I think.
Yeah, they're actually again on the Hal Finney thing, thinking that it's him. He has one post that's like his last post ever on the forum. He already has ALS at this point, and it's sort of his like sign off post, how much fun I've had working on Bitcoin and all this stuff. And in that post, he says he has this one line where he says, when I was working with Satoshi Nakamoto, like I thought I was working with a young Japanese man. And I actually always thought that was kind of fishy. Like, how would he not know that? Like, this is obviously a pseudonym. Like, what do you mean you really thought that's who it was? Like, the guy's, everything's in English. Like, it's like so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Like,
but he did write that.
did they ever converse over audio or was it always text?
No, nobody ever conversed with him over audio. Strictly emails or
'Cause
forum blog posts. Or yeah, posting to this
That's
forum.
that's usually the way I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was saying that because he just wanted to take him at face value, but yeah, I don't know. I always thought that was a weird quote.
Yeah, that is a little suspicious. It feels incredibly naive. Like
Yeah.
there would have been one like damning typo, you know what I mean? Like he enters the chat, and then, he just types out like a arashimase, like just one, one arashimase in the chat, the chat room. And
The lengths that people have gone to are incredible on this. Like there is stuff they've studied, like what time does he post? What time zone is that? Different spellings of different words, like with the British spelling versus the American spelling. Like, people have like forensically gone through and studied everything that you can imagine. And, unless somebody knows but they haven't said, it's just like incredible that nobody knows.
Well,
Maddie,
I,
do you own any of this?
no, as I said at the beginning, I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. I don't know anybody who has cryptocurrency. I'm toying with the idea of buying the fart coin that was mentioned earlier in the podcast. Um, but beyond that, no, that's why I'm here, Will. I'm here to soak it all in, and I'm consider me a sponge over here. And I'm not willing to say that I'm a convert quite yet, but Ryan's been saying some pretty interesting stuff, and I don't know, you might find me on some of these freedom fighting internet chat rooms if you look hard enough.
What's
So
your
the
use? What did I look for?
The fart coin I actually do want to touch on just to defend it momentarily. Uh, the reason that people sort of rallied behind that one, and I don't know what it's worth now, but it went up a lot. It's actually pretty funny. These AI models that people are now building, people are building. They're asking the AI models to make money from cryptocurrency for them. So people are writing like trading bots where the AI is trading for them. But someone was interacting with one of these things, and he said, and right now, basically, in the crypto markets, essentially every few years, Bitcoin starts going up again. That's sort of been the history of it. And every time that happens, it's almost like there's some new phenomenon of like gambling that people have invented. So you may remember NFTs from a few years ago. I like NFTs in some ways, but it just got crazy out of hand and was this massive bubble. And this time it's been these things called meme coins that are just they're attached to just like a meme or something funny, and they basically go up while that thing has attention on it, and then they crash. But somebody asked an AI, like, make me the greatest meme coin ever so that I can get rich. And the AI, you'd think it might come up with something like really complicated, or like we should do some new hashing algorithm that can do this with smart contracts or something. And instead, the AI said, no, I'm creating fart coin because people like farts and they think that farts are funny. So I'm going to launch fart coin, and here's where, here's the address of the coin. And so it went up to a very high value as sort of like commemorating this intersection of AI and crypto. But
AI is literally laughing at us. Are you kidding me with that? Oh my God.
yeah,
The end is nigh. I mean, they're taunting us
yeah,
with something like that. Will, you're just gonna let us sit there and let this happen?
No, I think you're right. I think this is the death knell of civilization. Is
I mean,
far.
I'm still gonna buy some, but
Yeah, yeah.
you
That's my
know.
second question. When they say to the moon with fart coin,
they actually don't say that. They say they have a very energetic community, and they like to post memes, and they say hot air rises, so our
uh,
coin should rise. and
that's brilliant.
and they have like so with Bitcoin, there's Michael Saylor who runs the company MicroStrategy, and he's basically used his company uh, as a thing to get leverage and buy Bitcoin with it, and he's bought incredible amounts of Bitcoin with MicroStrategy.
Mhm.
And these people in the fart coin community, they've created Fart Strategy, where they have Michael Smeller instead of Michael Saylor, and he's sort of the the it's the Twitter account that posts about this, and yeah, so this is the industry that I love, and I spend all of my time working on and defending. Yeah,
Do you own any fart coin?
I do
Be
not own any
honest.
fart coin, and yeah, it's
Octua girl
I
coin?
don't own any Hawk Tuah, and it can be tough to be, doing stuff like this, trying to, spend hours on this blog post about Satoshi Nakamoto and freedom and authoritarianism, and then I'm reading Twitter and Fartcoin is up 5,000%. And I could have just bought that and, like gone on a vacation. So that is one thing that can be tough with this stuff. I mean, we've created, uh, hopefully a new currency, but we've also created a 24/7 global casino with people able to get money in from anywhere extremely quickly. And so,
Right.
crazy what's going to happen when you do that? Fart coin's going to happen. And, people are going to sell pictures of monkeys for $1 million. And so, it's a
I'm just glad
weird
Hal
thing.
Finney's not here to see the fart coin, Can you imagine?
Uh,
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he'd like it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know anything about him. I'm just learning about him for the
yeah.
first time.
Another fun thing about Hal Finney is he is cryogenically freezing like Walt Disney.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's one of those. So if it is him, it'd be pretty amazing if he like unfreezes and Bitcoin is like the global currency. And he's like, fuck yeah, like I have so much.
Do you
Yeah.
think, not to get too off topic, but do you think if,
No,
the
let's get
tech,
off topic. We have about 10 minutes left, by the way.
the idea is, I'm sorry, Will, I think you were about to say something, but I have to ask this burning question in my mind right now. If, the idea with the cryo freezing, right, is that the technology at a certain point will advance. Well, it will advance to the point where, they could, bring you back from the dead, right? Does Hal Finney still have ALS? That he comes back, they're like, "Yeah, we got you back, but I mean, there's nothing we can do with the ALS, Like, I mean, that's no way to live, right?
I think the hope is that they've also advanced to
Oh,
the point that,
ALS, yeah,
yeah,
everything. Yeah, they've already
yeah,
taken care of
yeah.
everything. Okay. Well, I hope
Again,
so. For
that's
his
why I
sake, I
love the
really hope
guy. The
so.
guy, the guy was
Yeah.
the eternal optimist till the end. He
Yeah.
was like, yeah, freeze me. Why not? I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I respect it.
What's the market cap of the Trump coin right now?
Um,
you know because I think that's interesting, that kind of blurs the lines between um currency and politics, right?
yeah,
I mean, to a certain extent.
yeah. So on the coin market cap, um, Trump coin is a $5.5 billion market cap. It's the 26th largest cryptocurrency in the world. And it was just launched 2 Fridays ago, which is insane. And probably says more about the rest of the cryptocurrencies than anything. But yeah, that's an insane story because uh, he did it at 9:15 on a Friday night. And it was a huge deal. And I mean, it raises a lot of questions about like what, you know, what does that mean? There's people worried about could people that want to get money to Trump could they do it through this coin? Yeah, that was a crazy thing. And then of course Trump spoke about it, or he was asked a question about it in a press conference, and he said I don't know much about it. I think was his official quote. Um, but I think that they've already made millions of dollars by launching it. So
Who's
uh,
they? Maybe that's a good question, right? For
yeah, I
some of
mean,
the uninitiated here.
I'd like to know. I don't know. So he's involved in it because it was tweeted from his official real Donald Trump account. So he knows that it's his official meme coin that he's sponsoring, and because meme coins have been sort of the thing that people are trading these days, when Donald Trump launches one, he's like arguably the most famous person in the world. Everybody piled in. Um, I think that a few of the Trumps are involved in crypto. I suspect that it's just following it very closely. I think it's Eric Trump. Eric Trump like had I think Michael Saylor to Mar-a-Lago recently, and he kind of posts the most about it. So I think that what happened is they probably worked with some developers that they trust, and they put together a plan. I mean, they didn't just like launch it and then, in their defense, kind of dump their tokens on everyone. They actually, one of the reasons it went up so high in value is they took their part of the supply, which I want to say is 80%. So they like launched this coin, and they took about 80% for themselves, but they locked it, and they like publicly locked it in a way that you can verify for, I think they did like a 3-month lockup or something. So, but you don't know if maybe they created like other wallets and cashed out in different ways. But yeah, I mean, it's like for people that support Bitcoin and support kind of serious crypto stuff, Trump's becoming president was very exciting. Seeing him launch a meme coin, not as exciting, but I mean, I don't know, kind of interesting. We'll see. I honestly, I don't know exactly what to think of it.
It makes Thanksgiving really awkward for me, because I voted for Trump in the you got me. I know there's only 3 minutes left to defend myself, but I voted for Trump in the last election cycle, and my sister and all my stepsisters boycotted Christmas. Um, and I told them, I didn't tell them, but everyone's like, you're overreacting. But this Thanksgiving, you got a Trump coin, pump and dump. You've got the invasion of Greenland, and you've got him catapulting families across the border. And I, at a certain point, I don't, I don't know what to do. I double down? How do you?
Well, I think for starters, I mean, I think the Trump coin is the perfect stocking stuffer for any of, any stepsisters out there that anybody might have, you know. It's the gift that keeps on giving all year long, you know. So
Yeah, I use the Doge promo code and the Basque for Trump coin. Use the promo code Peter Todd. I'll tell you who's behind Trump. I had 2 words for you. Peter Todd.
Wow, Peter Todd's getting a lot of airtime on this podcast.
Yeah.
You should dedicate a whole episode to Peter Todd.
Have him on.
I would love
you?
to. I think he's a pretty private. I think he's kind of a recluse. I don't think he would come on my brand. I don't think he'd be episode 2, but maybe episode 200.
Well, it'd be hard to follow this act, right? I mean,
Yeah,
but if anybody
it
could
will
do it,
be.
it's him.
Yeah. We ain't no Peter Todd. I'll tell you that much. But then again, who is?
I want to talk a little bit more about the Jaime Zyba, the guy who
Would you guys keep
spent his
going?
whole life savings on Papa John's.
Yeah. Would you guys keep going?
I have 5 more minutes, but then I told I gotta be back by 9 p.m. for a dinner.
All right. Well, we've only got 1 minute left.
That's a late dinner.
Yeah, it's really late. We're in the middle of a move, so we're all over the place.
Oh, I thought it might be like an anti-intermittent fasting, or it's just intermittent fasting in the inverse of intermittent fasting,
Oh,
Mitten?
yeah.
Mittent. Yeah, mittent. Intramittent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm mitten fasting, actually.
Isn't it such bunk that they do less than 1 minute? Like, why would you do such a thing? You're counting it down to the second all the way, and then we go blind for the last 60 seconds. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. They start playing the Jack Bauer countdown.
Yeah. The ticking.
Yeah. It's not good for the suspense. It could cut off at any second.
Takes my money and leaves me poor. Love you, honey, but I am. She takes my money and leaves name's Meatball. I love you, honey, but I need some more. That's my mom. Her name's Meatball. I love you, honey, but
I think we were rounding the corner at 2010. Correct me if I'm wrong, Maddie.
We were in Fern's basement, I think.
And someone had just given like 1,000 Bitcoins to Papa John to say the N-word. It was about
And by God, he did it. He did it.
for $1 billion.
He did do it.